Hi, and welcome to Mark's Motivational Podcast, another Music Sunday. So today I'm delighted by joined by a good friend and a great guest, Ronan Tynan. We met each other through a lot of open mics that we do around the city. So Ronan's music is unique and it's great stuff. It's definitely going to share his links to his songs to check out as well. So make sure you check them out. So Ronan, thanks a lot for joining me today.
No, I'm delighted. Really great to be able to have a chat on air like
Yeah,
this, you know.
right. Yeah, yeah. So, if it's okay if we start off the podcast, you wouldn't mind telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you began in this your music career so far. You know how you got into the songwriting and the music. Great
Yeah,
place to
well,
start. Thanks, Ronan.
yeah, great. Well, basically, I really wear a number of hats, but two in particular. First, as a documentary filmmaker, and
Oh yeah,
I've been doing that for years, really. But all these documentaries are very much, in one way or the other, they seem to always end up being about people who risk their lives standing up for other people. Now, some
yeah,
people would refer to this kind of thing as human rights, but it's really about people making extraordinary sacrifices for others. And the last one we just did, which has been out for a little while now, called Bringing Assad to Justice, was about the horrific reign of terror imposed by Assad on the Syrian people. And I met so many amazing Syrians. I met Syrians who were also tortured to death during the course of this project, and it's really heartrending to see the sacrifices they're making. And the great tragedy for me personally is to watch Gaza now and the same thing being done to the people in Gaza that was done to the people in Syria by Assad, bombing hospitals, bombing schools, bombing entire residential areas, starvation, sieges of opposition cities. And the only difference is that the Syrians were able to flee to the northwest of the country to something not exactly luxurious conditions, let it be emphasized, but refugee camps out of the reach of the regime. Whereas in Syria, in Gaza, as we all know, the Palestinian people are hemmed in like fish in a barrel, being relentlessly and mercilessly bombed. And to be honest with you, the songwriting I've been engaged in really one of the motivations. I see it really as an extension of my interest in people who take a stand for others. And I was just thinking, and I have been thinking a lot lately about Sinead O'Connor. And I wrote a song, one of the first songs I recorded. In fact, it was the first song I recorded recently, and I have a few songs I've released in the last while. And it's just simply called Sinead because I was really moved as well myself at Sinead's funeral to see how people really connected with Sinead, and they connected with her, I think, primarily because she cared about other people and she had problems in her own life and she suffered a great deal, but she cared about other people. She spoke up for other people and she constantly made sacrifices for other people. And for those who called her a friend, she was always a good friend. And the song I wrote about her, I mean, it arrived almost like I don't like putting it like this, but it is true, really. It arrived almost fully formed, almost like a spiritual experience.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
wherever you get your music, you can just search for it called Sinead. And by the way, Mark, I actually did change my name recently as well from Ronan Tynan, not very far from that, to Ronan Leo Tynan, just to avoid confusion with one other Ronan Tynan out there. And I don't know how people could possibly confuse my dulcet tones with his. And people probably know who I'm talking about, but it's if you are searching for that song, it's Ronan Leo Tynan. And if you want to
yeah,
see the documentary Bringing Assad to Justice, just Google Bringing Assad to Justice. And I welcome the opportunity to talk about it because really I would see myself really as a protest songwriter,
mm,
protest singer songwriter.
yeah,
And I don't want to go on too long, but there is another thing which really upset me when I was doing the Syria documentary. And it still upsets me because so many people who I see rightly protesting against Israel's genocide in Gaza, not alone did they not protest about Assad's. Now, you can't call it a genocide in Syria only because Assad is drawn from what would broadly be regarded as the same ethnic group. Now, within the country, they might be from a different religion, but generally speaking, they're all from the same ethnic group. Because, as I say, Assad did to the Syrian people. And the reason people hesitated or the reason some people didn't criticize Assad was simply because Assad said he was opposed to Israel and the United States. Of course, the reality is that Assad tortured, Assad disappeared, brutally murdered many Palestinians as well, including destroying the famous Palestinian refugee camp, which was home to 160,000 Palestinians just outside Damascus, or it's part of metropolitan Damascus. And I could never understand why people could, just for political reasons, ignoring that horror. And that also inspired another song, which got into a small bit of trouble over. I mean, you didn't see it on the front page of the papers, but it's called. It really it's. I better give you the title. It'll be self-explanatory to some people. It's Woody Guthrie, Pete Seeger, and Stalin, because many people are quite shocked to discover, and I'm sure you've heard of Woody Guthrie, you've heard of Pete Seeger, right?
Mhm.
But Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie, two great people who cared about the working class in the United States, who took a stand for the vulnerable and the downtrodden, and were members of the American Communist Party. But even as the horror that Assad perpetrated on all of the Soviet people, including the working class in the Soviet Union, including intellectuals, students, songwriters, poets, everybody, the famous reign of terror, including imposing a famine on the people of Ukraine within the Soviet Union, they continued to support Stalin. And it's still shocking to this day, even as fellow members of the American Communist Party, resigned from the party because the evidence against Stalin was so amazing. But Woody and Pete remained true to Stalin. It was really quite extraordinary, that they didn't resign in protest. Now, Woody Guthrie did remain true to Stalin to the end and didn't repent before he died. But Pete Seeger, and this is all reflected in my song as well, Pete Seeger did in his 80s write a song rejecting Stalin, a kind of an apology for his failure to speak out when he had the chance. And that's really about that song, because I think it's so important today. Because even in relation to the Palestinians being mass slaughtered in Gaza, you see some people, excuse me, still supporting Israel in the face of this horror, just like Woody and Pete did as Stalin was running the famous terror in the Soviet Union. And it's this incomprehension I have how people can put their own personal politics ahead of calling out this kind of brutal savagery. And it is really something that the people count and should always count. And it's the same in Ukraine. I see people who are standing by Putin. They won't attack Putin's war in Ukraine, but they will attack Israel. Now, I attack Israel for the genocide. I attack Putin for invading Ukraine. But this kind of a la carte kind of politics that puts one's own political prejudices ahead of protecting the human rights of others, I think it's a right scandal. And I think it's something we should all take a stand against as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you exactly, Roland, and I understand how strong you are about this. Just that I don't really watch the news on like that, so maybe I'm ignorant to that extent, but I just want to really focus on your music, really, Roland, if that's okay. So
Sure.
just to kind of promote it a bit. Can I you walk me through your songwriting process, from an idea, to finished track, if you don't mind, Roland, please.
Yeah, it's very interesting, really, because, I really have a very simple method, and sometimes I think it's not very efficient, but it's the only way I can do it, and I've tried to move away from it. Basically, I just start strumming the guitar. I try to find some chord progressions, and when I have something good, maybe I have an idea in my head about a song, and then I'll just start on the guitar trying to write it, see it as a string together, and only then do I start putting it on paper when it's almost the bones of a song on the guitar. And and as I mentioned, the Sinead song, that one was quite remarkable because I did it in the same way, but it just seemed to come fully formed. I mean, it was written in a few minutes virtually. Now, I did spend a bit of time tweaking it after it was, the original lyrics and music and all of that. But generally speaking, it very much arrived like that. It just clicked from the very start. I started off writing the song, and then suddenly it was there. And then I tried to change it. Sometimes I'll try to rework it. different melody, different chords, keep the lyrics and sort of work it out and work around it, and trying to get a better thing. But with that song, it just wouldn't let me. It kept coming back to the original version. It just was locked in. It's bizarre. And I find it very, very emotional when I sing it as well, because I really did admire her as a as
Very
a
did,
as
yeah,
a
yeah,
as a human being, more almost than as an artist. But especially because, like the people we make the documentaries about, she stood out as someone who always took a stand. She
yeah,
was always true, and the lyrics very much, you know, they tell that story. It's also not a very the lyrics. It's not a very long song either. But I mean, I do pack that story in a way that surprised me when I think back. It's just that it came so fully formed. It's actually,
yeah,
oh yes, and it's worth mentioning as well because I met Paul Brady when he was talking about his biography at the Listowel Writers Week. And when he wrote that song, The Island, he described it as almost spiritual experience. And I was able to relate to that especially after the Sinead song. Um, and as I say, if people want to listen to it, just go on Spotify or any other music platforms. But
yeah.
just use my name, Ronan Leo Tynan.
Leo Tynan,
Sinead.
thank you for
You'll
your
find it much easier that way. But as I say, I have a very simple methodology, if you like,
mm,
because what I'd like to be able to do, because I used to write poetry as well too, not so much nowadays, but I haven't given it up by any means. But it's just great to be because some people could do that. They write the lyrics and then they
mm,
can put the music to it. I think I
yeah,
can do
yeah,
that. I am threatening to try that all the time, but I never really do because I find it so easy to
yeah,
start a song on the guitar, work it out on the guitar, almost write the song without
mm,
writing it down, if you like, so that
yeah,
and when I
yeah,
can really play it, it gets anchored in my mind. But
right,
and the other thing is, we've discussed this at open mic nights as well. Until it is anchored in the brain. When you get up to sing it, you can never. I actually can forget the words and that. But once it's
mm,
anchored in the old cranial box,
yeah,
it
yeah.
just, it generally speaking is there.
Mm. Yeah, right. And I suppose like what song the Sinead song is one of my favorites you wrote as well because I love that you've done that because I've written a song for Chrissy Dignam, so that's one thing we have in common.
Yeah,
So
I remember. A very good
yeah,
song. Yeah.
thank you. No, but so I suppose what's the first song that you'd recommend people to check out, and what do you expect they'll get from that song that Dave wrote about Sinead, or which song? Maybe not the Sinead song, but what song would you reckon people should check out first, Ronan?
My songs.
Yeah, your songs. Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, well, there's one song recently that it's called "You Are My Heaven." You are my heaven, and I got a fright one night when somebody said that sounds like a hymn. And in a way, it probably it does sound like a hymn. I didn't really think it did sound like a hymn, and I still don't. But it is about it's a love song really, and it really where the person that the who I'm writing about loves this woman who's a Christian, practicing a true believer, and she basically told him that heaven and earth is here on earth, and that true love is the ultimate heaven, and you can find heaven on earth, and it's that kind of theme. It sounds almost innocent, maybe naive, but I don't think it is. I think heaven and earth is here on earth. We all can make a decision whether we want to live in heaven or hell, and you create your own destiny in that sense. And I think it's one of the most important things I've
yeah,
learned through life, and that is simply that the power to make it a go of your life is totally within your own hands. If you want to be happy, you can be happy. If you want to be miserable, you can be miserable. But the
yeah.
choice is really yours, really. And I firmly
Great
believe
point.
that.
Great
And
point.
that
Yeah.
song probably is a real declaration of that. There's another song as well. If you want me to keep going, I mean, I could just.
Ronan, if you want to share the songs with me and like put them if you have MP3, I can put them on the show notes for people to check out as well.
Oh yeah.
So I'll put them on the show notes. So and if you want to put the links to Spotify, where they're on Spotify, so people can find them that way, if that makes
Oh
if that's
yeah, that'd
okay.
be great if you don't mind me sending you the
Yeah,
Spotify
yeah,
links.
that'd be
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. Because
That
I
will.
love that the concept of that song, Ronan, because like where your attention goes, where your focus on is where your attention goes, really, isn't it? Like, so what you
Mm,
focus on, you're gonna get really.
mm.
So that's it. Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Excuse me. No, but it's another thing as well, which I feel I've discovered in the last few years as well too, is the number of people who tend to live and work in Dublin and London. You know the way people go back and forth so much, you know. And in fact, I did a bit of that myself because I had to move to London there a few years ago. Not that long, only about 3 years ago. And when I was living in London for about 3 to 4 years, uh, I was back and forth so much. I started to explain to people, and I realized, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time because I met some people more often when I was living in London than I did here. Because when I came home regularly, I used to make an effort to see them. Whereas I mightn't see them for months
Yeah,
if when I'm here, you know. So
yeah.
that song is called the girl from. I better get this right now because it sounds a bit long-winded, but cause some people thought the girl was from Eastern Europe. I don't know if you've heard it. The girl from London, the girl from London.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
And that's a link of the two cities, you know. It's a state of mind, you know. And
Very
that's on
clever.
Spotify. I must send you that link as well. Did you hear
Yeah,
that song? You might have heard that song, but
it sounds familiar. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, it is
yeah.
the girl from London Blinden. I get a good reaction to that as well, I must admit, you know.
And have you anything you'd like to mention that's coming up, like people to check out your stuff, like where you're playing live? I know you do a lot of them open mics. When are you playing next, or when's the next time you'll
Well,
be
I'm
playing?
very much,
Check it out.
to be honest with you, I'm kind of working on an album as well. So I'm very
Oh, very
much
good.
into
Yeah.
open mics, really, because I find the open mics are great for testing. Well, I shouldn't say
Mhm.
testing, to try out songs, you know, and to see
Definitely.
audience reaction and do people get them. And, you know, it's great for, you must find that yourself as well. It's great for
Right.
feedback, you know,
Yeah.
and, like if people turn away and they don't want to talk to you, think, oh, that didn't go down too well, did
Yeah. But everybody
it?
has their own taste, really, don't they?
Exactly, yeah, and but at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
it does give you a kind of a feeling for a song, you know,
Definitely.
especially the London Blinden one, because I thought people wouldn't get that, but it is quite clear, really, in the
Yeah.
lyrics, you know.
Definitely. Yeah.
But it is, it just was just the other night actually at another open mic. Somebody had said that to me. They love that kind of thing, that you know, just playing with words like that, and I was delighted with that reaction as well because
Right. Yeah.
it did register, you know.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because they say when you're rhyming something or making connections, that really sticks in people's heads. That's great. Yeah,
Exactly,
so that's
yeah.
great, Ronan. And I was going to ask you as well, like, how do you find collaborating with other artists writing songs? I know you and I done a song before a number of years ago, which was good fun in the
That's
Imro
right.
thing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm absolutely diabolical at that, really. You know, at first I was, but it's just that I had a bad experience and it kind of put me off it. But I'm sure I'll go back to it, you know, and I know I must really because for production purposes, you know, if you really want to get the best of it, I mean, I advocate people should do it. I'm just a bit slow to do it. I suppose because I have so many songs in my mind that I want to finish writing and I have ready to record that, but obviously when I go through a kind of a songwriter's block, then I come back to collaboration with great enthusiasm, you know. But it's just something I find a little challenging, really, you know what I mean? And at the
definitely.
same time, I know it's really important, you know, because I wanted to write a song for Eurovision. And I think it's the one area where collaboration is very valuable if you can, you know. It's just that RT or Ireland maybe, but rightly, if Israel participates, Ireland should boycott Eurovision. I'm 100% for that. But if, because I believe RT at the end of the month will open the competition to select Ireland's entry. And but in Ireland, it's interesting because you have to, when you enter your song, you have to enter a singer with the song, which is interesting. You know, I don't know whether you've ever entered Eurovision, Mark, but it's an interesting challenge to find the right kind of singer as well. And of course, Eurovision is really a spectacle now too, you know.
Yeah, they told me my song was far too good, Ronan, to enter it.
And the other big thing I found very
They
surprising.
said at the time they didn't want to win it anymore, so they said no, like we can't accept yours.
You see, I think it's because RT is broke. You see, they don't want to have the cost of mounting the winning competition. No, but it's really interesting, really, I think, because I've always loved Eurovision. And I mean, people are always saying, oh, it's so camp and all this kind of stuff. I don't care what it is, really. And maybe that's what gives it its kind of je ne sais quoi. But it is a bit of a spectacle as well, too. So it's an interesting challenge to write a song for. I'd really love to have a song in Eurovision, actually. So that's one of my near-term ambitions as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's great. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on today, Ronan, and looking forward to
Well,
sharing all
thanks
your
very much for
music
the
as well.
opportunity. Yeah.
Looking forward to sharing all your music on the in the show notes as well.
Oh, great
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
So, have you any anything else that you'd like to share? Or any other? Have you any radio interviews or anything coming up or anything like that that you'd like to share or anything like that?
Well, it's I'm a bit obsessed, to be honest with you, about the Gaza situation
I
at the
know. Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
really. Like many people, it's very frustrating, and it really is something that takes a lot of my bandwidth as well because it is so frustrating.
I know. I know. Okay. Okay. Listen. Thanks a million for coming on, Ronan, and all the best. I'm sure we'll catch up pretty soon in the open mic. There's a really good open mic that I think we're both going to go to on Wednesday. Just to give it a mention, it's in
The Wild Duck.
place in yeah, the Wild Duck in Tampa Bay. Yeah, thanks, Ronan.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go to that
Yeah,
because you gave
yeah,
me that recommendation. I think I'm
yeah, it's
definitely going
quite
to go
good.
to it. Sounds fantastic.
Because what I found was good was they have like a total drum kit and everybody gets two songs and it's the center of town as well for anybody that's listening. You know, it's easier to get to. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Ron. Thanks again and all the best with everything you do.
Great stuff. Thank you, Mark, and good to talk to you again.
Cheers. Okay, thanks out for tuning to Mark's motivational podcast, another Music Sunday. Ronan Leo Tynan. Make sure I put that in that this time. So make sure to check out all his music and his great performances at open mic nights. You won't be disappointed. So thanks again for listening. Thanks again, Ronan. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Mark here. Thank you for watching another episode of my Authors Tuesday podcast. I recently published a book of children's stories called The Adventures of Larry Lamppost and Friends. The book began life as bedtime stories I wrote for my own children. If you'd like to purchase my book, follow the link in the description box below. By buying my book, you are also supporting my podcast series for authors, which is giving a voice to writers in Ireland and across the world.